Sometimes the biggest dramas don't happen behind the scenes but in front of millions of watching eyes. For Ben Affleck, that night was exactly one of those nights. While trying to appear happy next to his wife, Jennifer Lopez, she destroyed everything with just one look. The cameras caught that moment, and within 24 hours, the internet couldn't stop talking about anything else. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss dramatic moments like this. Because the story I'm about to tell you today isn't just about one couple. This is a perfect example of how ego, power, and pride clash in front of cameras. In the grand ballroom of the Grandview Hotel in Beverly Hills, one of Hollywood's most prestigious nights was unfolding. The Golden Globe Awards 2024 were filled with stars as always. Crystal chandeliers illuminated every corner of the room, while final poses were being struck on the red carpet. But tonight no one was aware of the approaching storm. Ben Affleck stood at the salon entrance in his black tuxedo. The 52-year-old actor and director was living the best days of his career lately. His latest film, The Last Gamble, had received perfect scores from both critics and audiences, being favored in the Oscar race. Tonight was supposed to be a night of triumph for him, at least that's what he thought. Standing beside him, Jennifer Lopez was presenting a visual spectacle. The 54-year-old superstar was literally glowing in her specially designed silver Versace gown. Her hair was styled in a perfect updo, her makeup glittery yet sophisticated. As someone with years of stage experience, she knew very well how to position herself in front of cameras. But tonight was different. There was an unusual sparkle in her eyes. "Ben, move a little more to the left," J-Lo whispered without breaking her smile. "The cameras can't catch me from the right angle." Ben turned his head to look at his wife. He had heard Jennifer's familiar tone again, that obsessive tone where everything had to be perfect. Every moment had to be controlled. "We're good here, Jay," he said calmly. "Look, the photographers seem happy too." But Jennifer Lopez wasn't happy. Not happy at all. The tension that had started that morning had grown throughout the evening. During hours of preparation, Jennifer's stylists had commented on Ben's outfit, saying he could wear something more modern. Ben had quietly accepted this, but internally he was bothered. This was his night. The film was his film. The award was his award, but it seemed like everyone was interested in what Jennifer would wear, how she would look, from which angle she would take photos. "Hello, Ben." "Jennifer, look this way, please." The photographers' voices filled the atmosphere. Flashes began exploding. Ben reflexively smiled, but Jennifer wanted more. She placed her hand on Ben's arm and gently pulled him forward. "Smile a bit more energetically," she murmured through her teeth. "You look tired." Ben's smile trembled for a moment. "I'm not tired, Jay. I'm just trying to be natural. Being natural isn't enough in this business. You should know that." These words stung Ben. Was Jennifer right? Did he really look tired? Or was he just acting like himself? After spending long years in Hollywood, sometimes it became difficult to distinguish what was real and what was fake. As they began walking into the salon, they felt the surrounding attention gathering on them. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck were one of Hollywood's most talked about couples. Since they got back together in 2021, the media had been following them closely. Every move, every look, every touch was being analyzed. "J-Lo, Ben, can you give an interview?" Sarah Martinez from Entertainment Tonight extended her microphone. Jennifer immediately took charge of the situation. "Of course, Sarah, how are you?" Ben stood silently beside her. When Jennifer started talking, it was almost impossible not to fall under her influence. Her professional charm, her ability to direct the media was truly impressive. But today the situation was bothering Ben. "Tonight is Ben's big night," Jennifer said, placing her hand on her husband's shoulder. "I can't express how proud I am of him. The Last Gamble turned out to be a truly magnificent film." Sarah extended the microphone to Ben. "Ben, what does this nomination mean to you?" When Ben started speaking, the expression on Jennifer's face changed. Very subtle, but a noticeable change. Her eyes narrowed, her lips pursed almost imperceptibly. She didn't like Ben's speaking style. "This nomination is of course very important," Ben said. "But what I'm really proud of is being able to tell the story right. This film," and of course, Jennifer interrupted, "Ben's performance in this film isn't just acting. He also worked as a producer and creative consultant. He's a very talented man." Ben stopped. Jennifer had done it again. She had cut him off. Moreover, she had done it so skillfully that from the outside, she appeared to be a supportive wife. But Ben was aware. This was control. After Sarah ended the interview, the couple walked toward their table. The salon was a huge ballroom, with 8 people seated at each table. Hollywood's A-list was here. Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone was watching everyone. Ben and Jennifer's table was in a prestigious location, very close to the stage. Also seated at the table were Rachel Morrison, Ben's partner in the film's music director Thomas Chen, and David Sterling, CEO of production company Meridian Entertainment. "Ben, you really look fantastic today," Rachel said with a sincere smile. "You really deserve this nomination." "Thank you, Rachel. You look amazing too." Jennifer silently watched this exchange. Rachel Morrison was 38 years old, a talented cinematography director. She had previously received an Oscar nomination for the film Mudbound. She was smart, successful, and attractive, and right now she was making eye contact with Ben. "What was it like working on the film set?" David Sterling asked. "The chemistry between you two is really visible on screen." Ben started speaking, but this time he felt Jennifer's attention was completely on them. "Rachel is a wonderful professional. Working with her, Ben always works with the best people," Jennifer interrupted. "He chooses that very well." The emphasis in these words was clear. A small smile appeared on Rachel's face, but she didn't say anything. David Sterling had noticed there was a slightly tense atmosphere. "Would you like some wine?" Thomas Chen asked, trying to ease the situation. "I won't have any," Ben said. "I want to stay sharp tonight." "I'll have a glass," Jennifer said. "Today is worth celebrating." The waiter came and filled Jennifer's glass. As the red wine poured into the glass, Jennifer's eyes shifted to Ben and then to Rachel. She was thinking about something, and what she was thinking was starting to worry Ben. When the ceremony began, the salon darkened. Stage lights came on and the presenter took the stage. James Corden was this year's host, opening the night with his usual energetic demeanor. "Welcome to the Golden Globe Awards. Everyone here tonight is either very talented, very lucky, or has a very good agent." The salon laughed. Even Ben smiled slightly. But he noticed that Jennifer's attention was elsewhere. She was constantly scanning the surroundings, calculating who was sitting where, who was watching whom. When the cameras were focusing on them, the first award category was announced: Best Supporting Actor. It wasn't Ben's category, but he watched carefully. The winner was a young actor who thanked everyone in his excited speech. Ben remembered that excitement too. The first nomination, the first award. Those feelings were never forgotten. "What are you thinking?" Jennifer asked, lowering her voice. It was a nice speech, sincere, too long. "People get bored." This comment surprised Ben. Why was Jennifer being so critical? "He's excited, that's all. It's normal. There's a difference between excitement and professionalism, Ben. If you go on stage, you need to be prepared." Ben turned to her. "If I go on stage?" "Don't you mean when I go on stage?" Jennifer paused for a moment. "Of course you'll go on stage, baby. I just meant, what did you mean?" "Nothing. Focus on the night right now." But Ben couldn't focus anymore. The small doubts in Jennifer's expressions, the anxieties she might not have noticed but felt, were starting to confuse him too. Was he really sure he would win? Or was Jennifer's attitude based on the possibility of him losing? The categories continued. Best Supporting Actress, Best Music, Best Screenplay. With each award given, the salon applauded. Cameras followed the winners. Ben's category was also approaching. Best Actor, Drama. "Now I'm getting excited," Rachel said, turning to Ben. "Your category." "Me too," Ben said, but there was tension in his voice. Meanwhile, Jennifer was checking her phone. What was happening on social media? How many likes her photos had received? From which angles they were taken? She was following these. When Ben saw this, he got even more annoyed. "Jay, the ceremony is continuing." "I know, I'm just looking quickly." "This is my night." Jennifer put down her phone and looked at Ben. There was something in that look. For a moment, Ben saw the real Jennifer Lopez. A woman who was calculating, strategic, accustomed to controlling everything, but also a bit worried. As if she too was afraid of losing something tonight. "You're right," Jennifer said. "This is your night, and I'm proud of you." These words were sincere. Ben felt it. Maybe he was overreacting. Maybe Jennifer was just trying to focus on the moment and this was her way of coping. James Corden returned to the stage. Now one of the most important categories of the night. In the Best Actor, Drama category, Ben's heart raced. This was the moment. Our nominees are Anthony Hopkins for his performance in The Father's Legacy, Mahershala Ali for his role in Breaking Point, Ben Affleck for his performance in The Last Gamble. The cameras focused on Ben. At that moment, the salon was showing his face on a giant screen. Ben tried to smile but couldn't hide his nervousness. Hundreds of millions of people were watching him right now. Oscar Isaac for his role in Midnight in Madrid, and finally Riz Ahmed for his performance in The Long Road. After all the nominees' names were announced, the salon fell silent. James Corden opened the envelope in his hand. And the winner is... This pause seemed to last for hours. Ben's palms were sweating. He felt Jennifer place her hand over his. Ben Affleck, The Last Gamble. The salon stood up. The applause was very loud. Ben couldn't understand what happened for a moment, then realized that everyone around him was congratulating him standing up. He had won. He had really won. Jennifer had also stood up, applauding. But the expression on her face was strange. She was smiling, but there was something else in her eyes. As if it was disappointment. Ben leaned down to kiss her. Under normal circumstances, at such a moment, Jennifer would completely give herself to that moment. They would share a sincere kiss. But this time Jennifer quickly ended the kiss and pushed Ben toward the stage. "Go," she said. "Don't keep everyone waiting." As Ben walked toward the stage, his mind was in turmoil. He was experiencing one of the biggest triumphs of his life. But at the same time, Jennifer's strange reaction was bothering him. Why didn't she seem happy? Why had she acted so quickly? When he reached the stage, the applause was still continuing. James Corden handed him his award. The Golden Globe was in Ben's hands. He approached the microphone. "Wow," he said, still with amazement in his voice. "I really didn't expect this." The salon laughed. Ben continued. "When we were making this film, we just wanted to tell a good story. But the reactions we received, this nomination, and now this award, these were beyond our dreams." The cameras were scanning the salon, showing Ben's table. Rachel Morrison was standing, applauding, smiling. David Sterling and Thomas Chen were doing the same. But Jennifer was sitting. The salon was full, hundreds of people standing and applauding, but Jennifer Lopez was sitting. And the expression visible on her face, was it indifference? Or something else? Ben saw this. At that moment, while the cameras were showing him, while millions were watching, he saw that his wife was sitting. And something broke inside him. He tried to continue his speech, but his voice was trembling now. "I want to thank my wife, Jennifer. She has always supported me." At this time, the camera showed the table again. Jennifer was still sitting. Moreover, she was looking at her phone. Her phone. While her husband was on stage receiving an award, she was looking at her phone. The salon saw this. Social media saw this. The world saw this. Ben finished his speech, but now he didn't even know what he was saying. As he left the stage, his legs were trembling. This was supposed to be his night, his triumph. But everything was ruined. When he returned to the table, Jennifer stood up and hugged him. "Congratulations, baby," she said. But this time her tone was completely different. This was out of obligation, something that had to be done when eyes were on them. "Thank you," Ben said, but there was coldness in his voice. When they sat down, everyone at the table congratulated Ben. Rachel was really happy, saying, "You deserved it, Ben. You really deserved it." David Sterling was already starting to talk business. "After this award, your project will be much easier." But all of Ben's attention was on Jennifer. Why hadn't she stood up? Why had she looked at her phone? This behavior wasn't just disrespect, it was a message. But what message? The ceremony continued, but for Ben it was over. The award he had won was sitting on the table, but it felt like it belonged to someone else. Jennifer was also quiet now, occasionally talking quietly with others but not making eye contact with Ben. When the Best Picture category was announced, The Last Gamble had been nominated but didn't win. Ben didn't even care. His mind was elsewhere. As the ceremony ended, people began getting up from their tables. There was an after-party, food, drinks, networking. The part where Hollywood really did business was starting now. "Let's go to the after-party," Jennifer said as if nothing had happened. Ben looked at her. "Really? Of course, why not? This is your night. My night?" Ben's voice rose slightly. You said you were proud of me, but when I went on stage, you didn't even stand up. Jennifer looked around. There were still people nearby. They could hear this conversation. Ben, this isn't the time to talk about this here. Then when? When will you explain to me why you looked at your phone during your husband's biggest moment? Rachel Morrison approached. Ben, congratulations once again. I'm leaving, but… Rachel, Ben said, turning to look at her. Thank you. For everything. Jennifer watched this mutual gaze, and at that moment she understood something. Maybe she was seeing the reason for her own behavior so clearly for the first time. After Rachel left, Jennifer and Ben were alone at the table. There was still activity around, but they were sitting quietly. You were jealous, Ben said finally. Jennifer looked at him. What? You were jealous of Rachel. That's why you didn't support me. You're being ridiculous, Ben. No. When I went on stage, you were upset. Because this was my night, my triumph, and you couldn't stand it. Jennifer's face changed. That cold, calculating expression returned. I supported you. I always support you. If you supported me, you would have stood up. You would have done what everyone else did. I don't have to do what everyone else does. You have to do what a wife does. These words hung between them. Jennifer didn't say anything, because both of them knew Ben was right. I'm going to the after party, Jennifer said, standing up. You can come if you want. Ben watched her. As that beautiful, powerful, successful woman walked away, he felt like he had seen the breaking point in their marriage. Tonight wasn't supposed to be just a night when he received an award. Tonight was the night everything changed. He took his award and stood up. He wouldn't go to the after party. He would go home alone. But first he wanted to think about that moment once more. The moment when his wife looked at her phone, embarrassed him. And he asked himself, could this marriage be saved? As the salon emptied, Ben stood there alone, with his award in his hand, empty tables around him, thousands of questions in his head. At the beginning of this night, everything was perfect. Now everything had become questionable. When he went outside, paparazzi were taking photos. Ben, how does your award feel? Questions were raining down on him. But Ben didn't answer. He walked straight to his car. Sitting in his car, notifications started dropping on his phone. The hashtag Dr. J.Lo Affleck was trending on social media. People were talking about that moment. Why Jennifer didn't stand up, why she looked at her phone, whether there were problems between them. Ben turned off his phone. Sometimes silence was the best answer. But he knew this silence wouldn't last long, because nothing stayed secret in Hollywood. And what happened that night was just the beginning. Driving home, he thought about the award ceremony he had left behind. The night that was supposed to be one of the biggest triumphs of his life had turned into the biggest disappointment. And the person responsible was the woman he loved. When he entered the house, there was silence. Jennifer hadn't come yet. Ben put his award on the table and looked at it. The Golden Globe stood there, shiny and beautiful. But now when he looked at it, he felt sadness instead of pride. Because while receiving that award, he had actually lost something much more valuable, his wife's respect. And that night was the night everything changed for Ben Affleck. Not just him, the whole world had watched this. The cameras had recorded everything, and social media would never forget. Sometimes the biggest dramas really don't happen behind the scenes, but in front of millions of watching eyes. For Ben Affleck, that night was exactly one of those nights, and Jennifer Lopez's single action had changed their story forever. This was Hollywood's ruthless reality. The cameras were always on, and everything could change at any moment.